Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about warrant officers. We're going to talk about what a warrant officer is, and we're going to talk about the training warrant officers go through, and we're going to talk about some of the eligibility requirements in case you guys are interested to learn more about warrant officers. It's my understanding that there isn't a lot of information out there about these highly specialized technical officers, so I thought it would be helpful if I did a video about them. Let's start off with answering the question of what is a warrant officer. A warrant officer is highly trained, and he or she is a technical specialist, and they're found in several military branches. They're not in the Air Force, so the Air Force does not have warrant officers, and they're most popular in the Army. So they can specialize as combat leaders, advisors, trainers, and in the Army in particular, their primary function tends to be, ensuring the Army's combat systems, vehicles, and networks, and just in general making sure that people and equipment are operating at their maximum capacity. So that's kind of a broad-based opinion of what a warrant officer is. And so now let me get into some of the education and training. All right, guys, so you want to be a warrant officer. If that's the case, you are going to go to Warrant Officer Candidate School. If you're not interested in flying, if you are interested in flying, that is, you want to be a pilot, you're going to go to Warrant Officer Flight Training. All right, so when it comes to Warrant Officer Candidate School, these are the guys that, are not looking to be pilots. You're going to go through a 7-week long training program, and it's generally completed at Fort Rucker, and that's in Alabama, for those of you that don't know. It's a rigorous program that, of course, combines intense physical training with specialty, more technical training, and essentially this program is designed to teach you to become a warrant officer. And the focus is put on team building and leadership exercises, because if you become a warrant officer, you're primarily going to be in leadership positions, management positions, and you're also going to be expected to serve as a mentor for those working below you. Now, if you successfully graduate from Warrant Officer Candidate School and you're appointed a warrant officer, you're going to be a WO1. So that's the rank you're going to set out at. And then you're going to be sent, on to more specific training based on your desired specialty. Now, let's say you do want to become a pilot and you go to the Warrant Officer Flight Training Program. So this is where, you're going to go if you want to be a helicopter pilot, if you want to be a fixed-wing aircraft pilot. And we also have, the Army has, training programs for those interested in unmanned aerial vehicles. All right, so that's pretty cool. So what do you need? So what you need for this is, of course, the high school diploma. That's a given, whether you're going the non-pilot track or the pilot track. But in addition to that, you need a minimum 110 on the GT portion. That's the general technical score of the ASVAB. And you also, of course, have to pass that Class 1 Alpha flight physical examination. And this is a more in-depth physical examination than the one you get if you're not going to become a pilot. And of course, that exam has to be approved by the Army flight surgeon. So those are a couple more requirements that you're going to have to overcome if you want to go to Warrant Officer Flight Training. And really, the Army has all kinds of aircraft that you can choose from. So if you successfully graduate from the Warrant Officer Flight Training Program, you can decide that you want to, fly a Black Hawk, or you might be interested in the Chinook. I flew in a Chinook once, and they're such interesting, airframes. Or you might want to be, an Apache helicopter pilot. So you would go on to more specialized training based on the airframe that you choose, upon your graduation from Warrant Officer Flight Training. So those are the training paths you would take. And I think it's really a great path for any of you that are maybe wavering between becoming enlisted or officer, and you want to go Army, think about, the warrant officers. The warrant officers, by the way, outrank all of the enlisted guys, but they do not outrank the commissioned guys. So they're kind of right there between enlisted and officers. So, a WO1 is going to outrank a sergeant first class, for instance. However, a WO1 is not going to outrank a second lieutenant. So warrant officers, again, are kind of just tucked right there in the middle of the enlisted guys and the officers. Let's talk pay for a second, and let's talk promotions for a moment. So I mentioned that you would start out as a WO1 if you successfully graduate from Warrant Officer Candidate School. So generally it takes about 2 years before you advance to Chief Warrant Officer 2, so that's CW2, and then subsequent promotion to CW3, CW4, and CW5 typically takes 5 years each for non-pilots and 6 years each for pilots. And I'm going to put up a picture of the rank, but basically it's the, vertical bar with the blocks in it. And again, you start out at the WO1, and then you can be CW2, CW3, CW4. And if you make it all the way to the top of the Chief Warrant Officer ranks, that would be the CW5. And that's just a vertical line, like a silver bar, with another vertical, line right in the middle of it. And there's a picture just in case you guys want to, know what that looks like. And let's talk pay. So the pay for a warrant officer starts usually, around $3,200 a month. Now, this does not include the pay allowances and the incentives. And it's important to remember a lot of the pay allowances are tax-free, like your basic allowance for housing that is based on your location. Guys, that's tax-free money. Your basic allowance for subsistence, that's also tax-free money. So when you're thinking about your pay, make sure you consider the fact that you're not paying taxes on a significant portion of your overall salary package. All right, guys, so that's some information about warrant officers that hopefully you will find interesting and helpful. I also want to point you guys to a website where you can learn more information because, of course, some things are dependent on the field you're hoping to go into as a warrant officer, whether you're in the intelligence field, for instance, or you want to become a pilot. So sometimes there can be some changes. Like earlier I said, generally you need to be an E6 or above. Sometimes there's some wiggle room there based on the specific, specialty that you want to go into. There's also some, potential for age waivers, for instance. So just look into, the ins and outs of the specialty that you want to go into. But one place you can go to find even more information is the USA Rec website. So I'm going to put a link to that right there just so you guys can have it. And that's a really helpful website that you can go to learn even more information. And guys, warrant officers are #boss status. Of course, I spent 9 years in the Army, and I worked side by side with several chief warrant officers, and they are truly the best of the best. Again, they are highly trained. They are exceptionally skilled, and quite frankly, just a pure joy to work with. So if you guys are interested in becoming a warrant officer, check out that website, and I'm glad you guys checked out the video today.